love-minded people. Okay, now. And it looks like we are live. That'll be a good thing. Wow. And it looks like we are live. We definitely are live. It'll be a second, I'm sure, before a few people arrive. Okay. Somebody popped in. I think 7 watching now. Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. I'm sorry we're late. We were having some serious technical difficulties. 7 watching now. Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting in just a few minutes. I'm sorry we're late. We were having some serious technical difficulties. One of those technical difficulties was I didn't have enough coffee. That off. Good morning, Sarah. Oh, how nice. Blessings to all. Hi, Val. How are you? Time to make more coffee. You're correct, Tamara Zoner. Always more coffee. Always more coffee. That's why I bow at the altar of Juan Valdez. Yeah. All right. We're going to be ready in just a few minutes. I love you people who show up early. You guys get to hear us talking to you during the waiting. It's kind of an extra bonus. I'm going to save my special guest for you until a little bit later. This way she can be a surprise. Oh, I said it's a she. I ruined part of it. Happy Halloween, everybody, by the way. Good morning, Suzanne. How are you this morning? I am doing wonderful. We were just talking about the elixir of life was making me kind of perky this morning. The dark elixir of life. My good friend Todd used to say, "Oh, dark mother, once again I suckle at thy teat." 1 minute. 1 minute and counting. Luke, I am your father. Hello, Patty Swimler. We got a Swimler in the house. Woot woot. Am I in costume? Yeah, I'm dressed as Steve Jobs. I'm wearing a black shirt. Which is kind of standard for me anyway. No costume for me, unless you want to think of the Dom DeLuise one that I wear every day. Well, I don't know if we're having church, but we're definitely having a good time. Welcome to the Live Loving Livestream, a gathering of love-minded people. Good morning, everyone. It's John, and I am here with you on the Live Loving Livestream. Thank you so much for being here and joining us on this beautiful day. Happy Halloween to you all. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. As you can see, I am in my Dom DeLuise costume this morning just for you good people, so you guys can have some good times with that. I would like to say, if I can, that I am really kind of excited about some new thing that I want to start adding to the very beginning of our live stream, our Live Loving live stream here. There's a website that I love and adore. It's called goodnewsnetwork.org. It's a channel that basically only gives good news. And this morning, as I was reading a beautiful story, I thought I'd share it with you guys because I think it's really just lovely. In the town of Arras in northern France, the country's first ever appointed official with Down syndrome is leading from the front, changing hearts and minds and bringing a new perspective on mental disability. In 2020, Eleanor Lelou was appointed municipal councillor of Arras under the mayor Frédéric Leturc, for which she received continual praise for her colorful nature, her insatiable desire to make people smile, and for promoting the inclusivity of disabled persons in society. On October 15th, Ms. Lelou was awarded membership of the National Order of Merit, the second highest civilian honor role in the country. Quote, "Inclusion isn't something we just think about. It's not just a generous act. It's our duty," Mayor Leturc said. Eleanor has helped the entire town progress in terms of how we see disability. I think that is a lovely, lovely story in the fact that, number one, here's someone with a disability who is rising to the top and not letting anything limit them, even though they might have some outwardly visual limitations. And then also, here's this lovely town and this mayor who is saying, it's my duty. It's my duty to love everyone, no matter what their disability may be, and to put them in a place of authority, in a place where they can do the most good and bring the most joy. I think that's really the interesting thing about this whole world that we live in. It's our choices, the things that we choose to do in our life, and we can choose fear, we can choose anxiety, or we can choose love, and to bring loving expression to the world. It really changes the world on a grand scale. Most people come to me and they talk to me about the idea of how can I make a big impact? Well, it's interesting because that's how a lot of people view the world. They look how they, in their present moment, they're looking at this grand thing they want to create. And the interesting thing is it's not the grand thing magically appearing. The grand thing appears when you start doing and living in alignment with that grand thing, that grand outcome. And so if you want to change the world, your job really is to make the choice to change your part of the world, your space where you are. Make where you are loving and express that love outward from you. It creates a ripple effect, a wave that goes out into the world and changes the environment. I often talk about the idea of how when I go to the grocery store, I always have a smile on my face because I'm just a smiler. That's what I do. I laugh, I joke, I smile. It's who I am. But when I walk in, I'm always amazed when I watch people do the double take when they see the smile because they don't see that enough. They don't see that expression of joy and happiness and love enough. And I think that if more of us would start to express that joy, that happiness, that love, and then making it our duty, it's our duty to change our part of the world. And so we make that part of our duty to become loving and share that with the world. I'm very proud of my mom. My mom was an amazing individual, and she did a lot of really good things in secret. She did a lot of loving things that no one actually knew she was doing. She also did some very good outward things that people did know she was doing. She was delivering Meals on Wheels. She was, helping the poor. She was families that she knew were struggling. She was actually buying food for them and cooking meals for them when they didn't have any food for their table. It's those loving gestures, those loving choices that we make that create the opportunity to change our environment, to change our world. But a lot of people look at that choice of making the loving choice, and that's just it. It's a choice to make the loving choice. To actually, they think of that as hard. They think of that as difficult. Because they're so ingrained into their subconscious belief of their fears and their anxieties. But there's nothing you can do about the things that have happened. The only thing you can do is change your present moment. Stay in this moment, live lovingly and joyfully and happily. And when I go through my life, I do my best to resonate that feeling to whoever I meet, whoever I talk to. And I'm very excited today because I have one of my favorite people on earth here today, someone who I just love and adore with all my heart and soul. And when I met her, I saw she was doing the same thing I was doing. She was spreading that love and that joy to an entire group of people that I was looking at going, wow, look at these people. They look so depressed. And she walked in the room and completely changed their experience. And I think that's a choice that she had made, that she had chosen to be that person in some form, because she had her own life traumas that she went through as well. And she overcame all that and became this beacon of love that was walking through the world. And that beacon of love changed the people that she was near and changed the environment of rooms that she walked into. And it's a matter for each one of us to step into that place and become that essence, that vibration. Now I'm going to reach over here to my panel here, and I'm going to unmute her. There's a good joke there, but I'm not going to go there. And she is now unmuted. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you may know her, you may love her as I do from Spirit Cafe podcast, my co-host in crime, the one who challenges me and every so often smacks me upside the head with the cosmic 2x4, as my good friend Atira would say. She is one of those friends that has chosen to walk through life lovingly, and also to realize that sometimes love is being the consequence, and sometimes love is being the person who says the hard thing. And that's really an important factor. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to our show my good friend Tamara Zoner. Hello, Tamara Zoner. How are you?
Hello, John. I'm wonderful. Even better after that lovely introduction. Thank you.
You are quite welcome, Tamara. I'm really thrilled that you're here because I get to joke around with you all the time on the Spirit Cafe and do all that work. And now I'm really excited to hear you bring yourself to this group here as well. And you may look like you're a little glitchy, but don't worry, it'll turn out fine in the end, I'm sure. So,
that's actually how I look like in real life, but it's okay.
Oh, have you had your coffee? I'm glitchy before coffee too. So, Tamara, do you want to lead in for this? Do you want to tell them what you're talking about, or you just want to go for it?
What do you prefer? It's your show, John. I'm just a guest here today.
I know, but yeah, I didn't know what you prepared, whether you wanted me to say anything beforehand about it.
I think, in fact, you created the perfect lead into what I'm talking about today. You threw out a couple of ideas for me to bring to your beautiful audience. And so thank you for having me here, and thank you for sharing your audience with me and me with your audience. And we're going to talk about choice, as you mentioned, and how that relates to happiness. Is lovely. Happiness, or isn't it?
So I'm going to throw you over to your own screen so you can take over and I can go take a break.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful to be here. So some say that happiness is a choice, and some people that's an upsetting statement for. Some people it's triggering for, and it makes it seem really very simple, doesn't it? As if we can just decide to be happy, and then happiness will fill us up and we will easily carry it with us for the rest of our days. It sounds good, but it isn't just that easy, and I wish it were. Happiness is a choice, in fact, but it's a constant and consistent choice to move toward happiness each day, sometimes throughout the day, that brings happiness into being. Happiness is a state of being. However, it's in action that we get there. And I want to share with you today some action that you can take and the areas of happiness in which you can take action to support yourself in making that choice of happiness, because the choice is in the action that you take. So the first step is taking responsibility for your own happiness, knowing and understanding and accepting that nothing and no one out there can make you happy. You are the leader of your life. You are responsible for your own happiness. And that can feel like a really big thing. But what's beautiful about taking responsibility for your happiness is that it really is then in your own hands and not dependent on others around you or life circumstances. So how do you take action in that responsibility? You start showing up as the hero of your own life instead of a victim of circumstance. You clean up your thoughts and you get to know how they work either for or against you. And you begin choosing the more supportive thoughts and ways of thinking and releasing the old negative habits and patterns of thought. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's why people like me exist, to teach you how to do that step by step. Then we open our hearts to happiness. We have to actually be willing to experience joy and happiness. If we're closed to love, if we're closed to kindness, to compassion, then we also close ourselves off to happiness. So we courageously open our hearts, knowing that if we get hurt in our vulnerability, we will grow through it. Another very, very vital area of our happiness is our bodies. We're only human. And we've all come into this lifetime with a physical package that needs our tender, loving care. Ask yourself if you nourish your body. Do you support it with good nutrition, enough movement and exercise? And the part we often think isn't that important and can wait till later, sleep. Do you get enough sleep? If you're relying on all that coffee to keep you moving, you're probably not getting enough sleep. And sleep is vital for our happiness. It is, in fact, more important than our income or our relationship status in the realm of happiness. So sleep, my friends, you deserve it. And then the soul. Do you nourish your soul? Most of you here are spiritual seekers or spiritual practitioners. So I know that you know there is this greater force, this greater being that connects us all, whatever you call it. All of our individual beings are truly just one. Do you allow yourself to linger in that connectedness, at least for a few minutes each day? Purpose and meaning. John was mentioning purpose. Purpose and meaning bring a richness to our lives that is often called happiness. So do you feel on purpose in your life? Do your actions have meaning? And do they match your values? And like John mentioned, purpose doesn't have to be some grand act. It's in the small moments. It can be simple gestures of kindness, like holding a door open or making way in traffic and letting someone in. It can be creating art. It can even be as simple as a smile that you share a few times a day. The happiest among us find or create purpose and meaning in our lives. And finally, we have to look at who we're surrounding ourselves with. Currently, you're surrounded with a bunch of beautiful souls seeking to have more light and more love in their lives, or you wouldn't be here on John's channel. And so look at who you surround yourself with. It's said that we're the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So are you spending time with people who bring joy into your life, or are there some toxic personalities that you may need to cultivate boundaries with? for your own well-being. When we take action in these areas, body, mind, spirit, emotions, the doing creates the beingness of happiness. Let's do a little happiness now in the form of a meditation. I invite you to rest your feet on the floor. If possible, get into a comfortable position with your back as straight as possible so that your energy has the opportunity to flow. And then gently close your eyes, or at least soften your gaze. Soften it downwards, maybe towards the floor or your knees, so that you can turn inward. Minimizing external stimuli and focusing your attention on your own stillness and the sound of my voice. Start to deepen and lengthen your breath gently, just a little deeper and longer than your normal breath. And if it feels good, you might take a couple of big, deep breaths to move into that pattern of deeper, longer breathing for the next few minutes. Just allow yourself to settle into this moment. And as you breathe, begin to notice the direction of your thoughts. Where does your mind wander? What kind of words fill your head? Are they loving and supportive? If so, let them linger. If you're hearing negativity or shoulding on yourself, perhaps with your next exhale, you simply let a little of that go. And in your next breath, breathe in spaciousness. Imagine feeling a bright light, white, bright, cleansing, clearing, and washing away any thoughts that don't serve you. With each breath, let that light grow brighter and see it washing over your entire being, over, around, and within, releasing stressful thoughts and any tension you might be holding in your body. Simply relax into your breath and visualize this light filling you, surrounding you, embracing you with its bright, loving light. Now imagine your breath moving in and out of your heart space. You're still filled with this bright white light, moving the energy of your breath in and out of your heart. And maybe take a moment to let a smile reach your lips, feeling into this moment of presence, of groundedness, of being here and now, heart-centered, love-filled. Breathe in joy. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe in love. Let those feelings fill you up as the light does. And notice your contentment. Notice your contentment. Notice how everything in this moment is perfect. Perfectly loving, perfectly present, perfectly light. And choose right now to anchor in this feeling. Breathe it in and know that this sense of contentment, of happiness, of love is always, always available to you. The serenity is always here for you. The sense of happiness is always within you, waiting for you to choose to return home to yourself, to your truest, purest, most loving self. This is our choice. This moment, this breath, this cultivation of a sense of goodness and love within us is how we move from the doing to the being, to choose happiness. With a breath or two, release back into the room you're in. Know as you open your eyes that you always have a choice to return to that happy, love-filled, light-filled state of being. And do it once in a while. Make the choice to practice happiness. It's yours whenever you reach out for it. And eventually that practice becomes your habit. And with ease, you can return to it with every breath. I'm so grateful to all of you and to John for being here with me and choosing, even if just for a few moments, a few moments, your own happiness. Maybe John's still getting coffee. Let me know in the chat how you're feeling now.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. I wanted to give Tamara a pregnant pause so she'd feel uncomfortable. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's a practice getting comfortable with discomfort, which I practice.
Right. Tamara, thank you so much. That was just wonderful. And one of the things that I'm grateful for is that you chose to be here to share that, because it's Sunday and you could have easily slept in and and been with your coffee this morning and done all those sorts of things.
I did,
but but that's why I put this thing at noon my time, because ain't no way in hell I'm getting up before that.
Good thinking. That's why I'm here.
I love the fact that you're focusing on happiness, because happiness is really a doorway to the loving vibration that we all talk about all the time, And I think that everyone on this live stream and everybody who listens to this video later, if you would just sit down, and Tamara has an exercise she uses all the time where she has people write down 10 things. And what I want you to do is I want you to sit down and write down 10 really happy moments. Just write down 10 really happy moments. And as you write down the 10 moments, re-feel those moments. Re-feel that sensation of just being in that moment. I know when my son wants to hear stories, and he constantly says, "Tell the story about blah, 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 blah," because I've got a million stories, right? And I know that when I tell him those stories, the laughter that comes out of both of us is just as strong as it was when it happened. It's just as powerful as it was when it happened. And then there's a lot of stories I tell, which I didn't necessarily laugh when it happened, but now I would laugh out loud because of it, the way I look at it now. And it's that laughter, that feeling that comes within that laughter that gives us that sensation of love. That is the connection to source right there. Remember, I often say spirituality is not a thinking, it's a feeling. And you got to get into the feeling of being love, being that essence of love and walking through your life with that essence of love and expressing it to the world. Live loving is what this live stream is called. Live loving. And as Tamara mentioned in her little talk, she talked about the idea of letting someone hold the door for someone or letting someone in traffic. I love when I'm driving down the road and I see a truck, a big tractor trailer with its blinker on, trying to get over, and nobody's letting them over. And I back up and I flash my lights to let them in, right? I love that moment, because the next thing that happens is the truck jumps in front of me and it flashes its lights to say thank you. It gives me the gratitude back. It's a loving exchange, and that guy thinks well of me, and I think well of him because I see someone in need, and you just do it. My mom, I told the story about my mom and the things that she did. Well, it's not because she was overly special, though my mother was the most special. It's because it's what you do. It is what you do. You just go into the world and be love and be loving. And as you walk through life, you can be negative, but why do you want to put that into the world? You can be judgmental, but why do you want to put that into the world? You can be hateful, but why do you want to put that in the world? You can be loving and watch the smiles erupt around you. Watch a room change when you enter into it. Watch the experience, the expression of the love inside of you spread like a wave out amongst the people that you walk by and through, and through the crowds. As you go through the crowds, you can feel the crowd changing. It's a lovely moment. I walk up to the cashier and I see that she's changed her hair. I make sure I say, "Gosh, your hair looks so nice today." I specifically say that because it's a loving thing to do, right? And I think that if more of us would just take that moment to think of that joyful place from those happy moments of our life and give those moments to someone else, what happens is it just changes the entire environment. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have the two co-hosts of Spirit Cafe here, and Jenny Brown says, "I love how Tamara said we can take a breath and just go back to that feeling of joy and happiness." Amen. I like that too. So we're going to take some questions from you, the loving, loyal listeners, and more L stuff, and we'll just any questions you have for me or for Tamara, we'll just answer what we can. We'll make this a discussion about how to live loving, or any questions that you have at all. Feel free. So, Tamara, do you have any questions while we're waiting for them to hear this? Because there's a delay.
Oh, no, but I just want to reiterate what Jenny Brown said. You have that choice to come back to that feeling anytime. And you don't have to have 20 minutes or a half an hour or even 5 minutes. You can cultivate that sense in seconds, simply putting your attention on your heart, choosing to put a smile on your face, and taking a few deep breaths. It just takes seconds, and it can be yours again, anytime. And when we practice that and we come back to that space again and again, it starts to live with us, right? So that we don't have to reach for it, search for it, work hard to cultivate it. It's always accessible. It's easy.
Right. Exactly. It's very easy. It's one of those. It's one of those things in our lives where we realize that the simplicity of positivity is simply a choice. It literally is choosing to say, "I am doing this. I am being joyful. I am being loving. I am being caring." And it is simply right there. Take a breath. I often talk about taking a breath and how the exhale, when we get into a fear state, we hold our body tight. We're holding air into our body so that we can run further and faster, because it's a primal response of the body. To be in fear means to hold air, right? So you're holding this air in, like the gazelle in National Geographic shows. They see that tiger, right? They suck that air in, right? But actors on Broadway are trained that when they forget all their lines in front of thousands of people, they're literally trained to exhale and relax all the muscles of their body. And what happens? All their lines rush right back into their head, because they turn off the fear response. They turn off the negative feelings, the negative emotions, the negative tensions, and they get back into that breath that Tamara was talking about and Jenny Brown's talking about, getting into that space of just, I feel this. And, they call it the breath of God for a reason. And I think this is why.
Yeah.
So Val says that was lovely, Tamara.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah. So
I
guys,
don't think they have any questions.
I know
Maybe they have advice for us.
Maybe they're just loving it. Are you guys loving this live stream, or shall we keep it going every Sunday like I plan? Oh, somebody just blooped. I hear that bloop. So you're in conversation with someone who is judging you for something. Your heart deflates. Where you go isn't happiness. What to do? First of all, realize they don't have the power to actually judge you. It is their fear that is judging you. And when you look at that fear, you can say, "Oh, I wonder what their fear is." And 9 times out of 10, their fear is the fear of not being right, because they have put themselves in a velvet cage of their doctrines, their dogmas, their rules, and they've forgotten to look outside at what other people are doing and expressing. Tamara, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Beautiful. Yes, I do. I always want to remember in those kinds of moments that that person is coming from their own lens, their own perception, their own experience, and it's really more often about them than about you, right? So they're not, when you feel like you're being judged, it's really them judging themselves. And also, could you let yourself be judged?
Right.
Could you just let that be and then notice for yourself, are you judging yourself in that moment? And how are you judging yourself in that moment? Could you, instead of judging yourself as negative or bad or the way that you think that they are perceiving you, could you judge yourself instead as patient and kind and as a listener instead of a reactor?
Yeah.
It's changing the script.
Right. And that biblical phrase, judge not lest ye shall be judged. Well, if you are judging yourself as judgmental. And you need to realize that if you're judging someone because of your beliefs, then you have to look at that as well, because sometimes we get so rigid in our belief system that we start to judge and we start to create. We all are judgmental at some point. I judge people who are harsh or mean or do things that are harmful to others because it's not loving. Now, the judgment is not upon them. It's judgment for myself. I go, well, that's not acceptable for me. And if I can stop the unloving act, I will. But I'm not there to judge them for what they believe, because their beliefs are what they're creating. And so, as you guys know, when I talk about my own personal beliefs, my own personal spirituality, I always say that it's not for me to tell you to take mine. It's for you to listen and decide whether it's yours, and for you to step into that role of realizing that it's your inner innate knowingness of whether it fits you or not. And if you come to that space of hearing something that just rings true for you, take it and live it, right? And if it just does not ring true for you, don't take it. Just move on. Don't judge it to the point where you are wasting time on it. Because why? You could be creating something loving and different. We must have done really well this morning, Tamara, because there's not a lot of questions coming in. We must be brilliant.
Or your audience is already brilliant, John.
They are already brilliant. They challenge me every day. It's one of the greatest things about this whole channel. We've broken the 1,200 subscriber mark. We have over 30,000 views in the last 6 weeks. We've got almost 5,000 video watch hours. And it's all because of these wonderful folks who are out there who come with their open hearts and their open minds to hear something new and different. The only ones that whoever actually comes here and spews anything other than love, is usually gone very quickly, and it's usually because we don't escalate. You said earlier about we're talking about judging others and the idea of they say something judgmental to you and you have to look at it, right? And you do have to look at it because what are they saying? Is it true or is it not true? I recently had someone accuse me of multiple things that were so not true that I giggled as I read them. I just was like, really? You think that? If only you knew. And I realized it was just them trying to get power over me. Mm. And there's a lot of people in the world who try to get power over people by putting them down or knocking them back. And they're trying to put themselves in a position of authority over someone. Well, in my opinion, there is no hierarchy. You know stuff I don't know. I know stuff you don't know. And together as one, we are a much more rounded individual. And that's the interesting thing is, we're in a community right now, and we're looking at we're looking at all these people, and they're bringing all these amazing things. And I learn from every question. Somebody asked me a question to do a video on. I learn from every video. I research and I go into my intuition about it, and I go drop into my memories about it. and I learned something new. And sometimes I remind myself of things that I had forgotten in the past. How does one deal with manipulative and deceptive adult children in a loving way? Okay, so they're obviously your children. So manipulative and deceptive adult children. Doesn't matter if they're your children or not. Manipulative or deceptive, where's that coming from? What's the fear that they're living through? Are they trying to manipulate because they're not getting something that they feel they need? Are they deceptive because they're trying to get something that they feel makes them more powerful? You have to look at any negative as a place something coming from fear. And you've got to look at that fear and go, okay, what is their fear? And that, in fact, this is what I would say. Whenever you deal with anybody who comes at you from a negative space or a negative intention, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what is their fear? What do they want? What are they trying to get out of this negativity? And you're going to find very quickly that they're very flawed, or they're struggling with some fear. If they're your children, you have a very close emotional connection with that relationship, but they're just people too. And when you have to realize that they're going through the same emotional struggles that you go through and that anybody else goes through, and you have to look at these struggles as, oh, okay, my father was an alcoholic abuser, and I was the one that he didn't like, right? And when I was able to come to grips with that experience, what I did was I said, oh, he was doing the best he could with what he knew. His father was an alcoholic abuser. His father was a person who was spewing hate and negativity, and specifically was a narcissist. And a narcissist breeds narcissism, and so the only way you break that cycle is to be the difference. And so in your relationship with your kids, unfortunately, they're going to have to come to grips with their own fear. The only thing that I think you can do, and Tamara, you can feed in on this in a minute, the only thing I think you can do is be the expression of unconditional love for them no matter what. No matter what you do or say, I will always love you. And realize that if you do anything other than that, you're escalating the problem, because they're looking for a reaction. They're looking for, they're being manipulative and deceptive because they think a certain way. And if you do a negative back at their negative, you're just escalating the negative. Tamara, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with so much of what you said. And I would say, too, not only are they most likely acting from a place of fear, but they're also seeking love. And so they're seeking love, and maybe they don't know how to healthfully go about seeking that love. And so they're trying to get something from you or get you to do something because maybe they don't know how to simply be loved. And so, like John said, you can be that demonstration of unconditional love. That said, you also must be that source of unconditional love for yourself. And this is where creating clear boundaries is so vital. Letting them know that, yes, I love you, and you cannot walk all over me. Yes, I love you, and here are my boundaries. Yes, I love you, and what do you really want? What do you really need? So having more loving and exploratory conversations if they're attempting to manipulate you. And remember, you're feeling that they are being deceptive and manipulative, but they may not see it that way. And so always come with this beginner's mind and simply ask the question, what's your motivation here? What do you need from me? What do you want from me? And then listen curiously, lovingly, and then respond with your own self-love first. Boundaries, clear love, and then just listen. And then instead of reacting, take your time to respond. Take your time, feel into it. Say, thank you for sharing that with me, and I'm going to consider that for a while. I'll call you in a few days.
That's great. I agree with everything you just said. One little topic that I want to go off of this is, you said they're looking for love as well, and that's a great point, because in my belief system, I believe that there is only love and fear, and people will often mistake what love is because they haven't felt it or they don't feel it within themselves. And so a lot of times love becomes power, or love becomes respect. Love becomes positive reinforcement from someone. Love becomes, creates codependency because love is then, okay, I'm in a relationship, so I'm loved. So literally you have to realize that if they're coming at you in a negative, they're in some way they're not feeling the love. And so they're trying to get that in another form.
Can I say something on that
Oh,
to Sweet
please,
Suzanne?
please. Yeah, keep going.
So, if you're not reading the comments along with us, she says that's what she has been doing, and that it's heart-wrenching and getting old, having that unconditional love. And so I would just so tenderly invite you to ask yourself, is that love truly unconditional? Or have you placed conditions and expectations for an outcome that you desire? Because if you desire them to be different than they are, it's not unconditional. And I say that with greatest love to you.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we have expectations, especially for our children, to treat us a certain way because of the work that we've put into them. I have 3. I know. And if I expect them to be a certain way because I think that I'm loving them unconditionally, and then they don't behave or respond that certain way, then I am hurt. But I am hurting myself. They're not really the ones doing it. It's my thoughts about them, about myself, about my parenting or their childing. And so again, it's an opportunity to look deeper at your own experience, your own hurt, your own healing, and explore like a curious visitor to a new land. See what's there and what can be more deeply healed.
I love Marianne down here says, in a moment of being judged or manipulated, I freeze, not knowing how to respond. The next day I can see things better and see how I could have responded, but not at the moment. So here's what I would say to you, Marianne. Then when you have those moments, say, I'll get back to you. Right?
I think that not responding is the perfect response sometimes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. You go, okay, I hear you. Sometimes they just want to be heard. When I directed Renaissance festivals, I used to joke all the time because, you spend a year creating a Renaissance as the artistic director. Your job is to write all the scripts, train all the actors, build the entire day, and then once the show gets going, and things are moving, things that you've worked on for a year, and you've got very invested in how this day is going to go, and then after it opens and everyone sees it and they think it's so simple how it happened, even though you spent a year doing it, they come up to you and say, you know what I think we should do? We should go down there right now and do this. And sometimes their ideas are outlandish and not even logistically possible. Like, you know what I think, John? In between the jousts every day, we should have a flying squirrel show. It's like, well, do you have one? And they should get to negotiating with me now for next year, right? But there's also those ones who, you've worked hard to do this, and then someone comes along and it's like, they're mad at you because of what you did, and they come in, they yell and they holler and they scream because they have a personal problem. And I discovered very quickly that when they come at you that mad, they usually have been ruminating on the problem that they're having, and they usually have an answer in mind. So what I started to do when they would come up to me this, I would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry this is happening. Oh my gosh, it must have been an oversight on my point." So I take the fault right away because that's what they're trying to throw. Take it right away from them and say, "How can we fix this?" And I give them the respect of telling me their solution. And then I can have a conversation with them about whether it will work or not. And 9 times out of 10, the solution works, right? Sometimes they're unreasonable, but 9 times out of 10, their solution, because they're the ones who've been sitting there thinking about it and putting this attention to it. And so stopping and listening first is always the wisest thing. And if they're really coming at you hard, stop and listen to what they're saying about their present moment and what the fears are that they're actually telling you through their words. What are they saying about their present moment? What's the subconscious mind spewing out of their mouth for you to go, oh, I see what they're afraid of. I mean, I told that story a long time ago about the moment where I walked into the office and the owner of the festival and one of my top musicians was screaming at each other. And, the one guy had the fear, the owner had the fear the IRS was going to come down on him. And the musician had the fear that he wasn't going to get his money. And so, but the fight wasn't about that. The fight was about who's to blame for their problems. And so walking into the fight, and I said, guys, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. Stop the fighting instantly, because they weren't casting blame on each other. And then I just made a solution. We'll fix the IRS by only taking the money out of his last check, and we'll get you your full check today. Solve the problem instantly. And they couldn't see a solution because they were lost in their fears. And sometimes you just have to break the fear cycle so they can be reasonable. Mm-hmm. Hi from the Netherlands. Hello, Ariane. How are you? Marianne, what made you laugh? I see you said you made me laugh because guess what?
That's what John lives for.
What'd you say, Tamara?
So that's what you live for, to make people laugh.
I do. And because I know that when you laugh, you are feeling the source. That's why you're laughing. You're feeling that love. If they are an addict, remind yourself that you see the sky is blue and they see the sky is black. It isn't worth the argument. I work to stay off the roller coaster. I have often said addiction, in my opinion, is medicating fear. And if they're medicating fear, you have to find out the fear that they're medicating. 9 times out of 10, it's just the fear that somewhere in their life, someone has been very, very conditionally loving to them. And so they're going for the addictive substance to have a feeling that replicates that feeling that they're lacking. And so they then take their mind and they wrap it around the fact that this feeling comes from this substance, and that's where that addiction comes. But you still need to look at what is the fear and where did it come from? And if you can look at that and you can help them get past it, great. If you can't help them get past it, sometimes the greatest thing to do is just to actually literally say, hey, let me find somebody who can help you get past that, because you don't have to be the one who does it. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that, Tamara?
Oh, I absolutely agree. You are not responsible for everyone else.
Right.
And we, no matter how good we are at whatever we're doing, sometimes we cannot be the one to help. But if we can help them find the resources that can, then that's actually the help that we needed to provide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. I think we're going to wrap this thing up here because we only have a few more minutes left. And so, Tamara, do you have any last thoughts for these lovely people who are here with us today?
I always have thoughts, John. Yes, I do. And he has the power to mute me, so I'll get them out quick. Just be so loving and kind to yourselves. And remember that we're all experiencing all sorts of things in life. And most of the time, if people aren't being kind to you, it's not about you. It's about their own experience. And so if you can just extend your own kindness to yourself and to others, then as John mentioned in the beginning, we will foster that kindness and create a more loving world. Just one of us at a time, and sometimes just one moment at a time. So be patient and loving with yourself first so that you can carry that out into the world. And then my last parting thought, John, unless you have other questions for me, would be come visit me on my channel.
Yeah. Well, you'll
where
see
I talk about stuff all the time.
Hang on. Let me jump right over here. Boom.
There we go. There's my website. I also have the YouTube channel, so you can click on any comments that I've made down here and come visit me if any of what I've said has resonated with you. I would love to see you over on my channel, Tamara Zoner. Where'd you go, John? Where'd you go? John went to make some more coffee.
Well, I'm back. I'm back now. Guys, make sure you go follow Tamara. I think I quieted you, Tamara. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Actually, jump back in here. Now, can you hear? Can I hear you? Can you hear me now, Tamara Zoner?
I hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you again.
Yes, I can hear.
I can hear you again. So, guys, make sure you do go over to Tamara's channel. Check her out. Check out her YouTube channel. And tell all your friends, okay, so to go to her channel as well. Let me say this. On this channel, we talk spirituality very big and broad, and we talk about big concepts. Tamara's channel and who Tamara is and what Tamara does is puts it practically into today, into this moment. It shows you how to live it. And I would highly recommend anybody here on this channel going there and signing up for her, subscribing to her channel. Make sure you put the ring the bell and all that stuff they say on other YouTube channels, so you get reminded that she did something. And I am just so completely grateful for your friendship, Tamara, and for your willingness to get out of bed today and come on here.
Oh, sorry, that's my alarm.
And there's your alarm to say, get the heck out of here, go back to bed. Right? All right. Well, thank you, Tamara.
Moving on to the next thing.
I'm going to go close this thing out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, John, and everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. See ya. And so, ladies and gentlemen, today we've had some pretty interesting things. We had a story about a Down syndrome girl rising up in politics in France, and how inclusive the community was for that. We talked about the power of choice. We talked about the idea of how in every moment of choice you have the ability to choose to be loving and not fearful. Tamara talked about happiness, and it's right there in the breath, and how you can reach into that breath and get that feeling that we all search for and look for. In our chat, we got to talk about some various scenarios and some Q&A, and we tried to figure out how we can use these tools that we talked about today and making them real and making them active and living that loving life that we're all looking for. Tamara led us through a great meditation, which is a great meditation in the fact that it lets you feel that expression of self. And I want you to make sure that you not only, if you ever get a chance, come back and listen to that meditation again, because it's a very simple, great meditation for just getting heart-centered, getting back into your space of love and expression. And like I said, make sure you write down 10 happy moments in your life and relive them and think about them and get that feeling. So today's so I guess the idea is think happy, love happy, be happy, and you will express happy and spread happy, and happy will be there. I feel like I should be Pharrell, 'cause I'm happy. So, guys, thank you so much for being here today, and I will talk to you soon. And make sure you come see us on Spirit Cafe. New episode coming out tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, guys, if you're interested, I have released a new 30-minute long meditation. It's on the web. It's on my website. It's called Becoming the Avatar. And it literally is a meditation for awakening the divine within yourself and empowering you out of the fear and the guilt of your religions and things of that nature, and showing you the divinity of you. So, guys, thank you so much for being here today, and I will talk to you on the next Sunday Live Loving Livestream. Bye. Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving Livestream with John Davis. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.